here we go. They say the Five ascended to familiar territories that crossed over the 4 million total viewer threshold on Wednesday evening. Fox News' 5 p.m. panel show is the #1 program in the advertiser-coveted 25 to 54 demo. However, they're playing flashy word games, how they wrote that. The Five got 391,000 viewers in the key demo. That's #1. The #1 cable TV show gets 391,000 viewers in the key demo.
Wow.
With all due respect, I'm a fan of the Five. We do like 700. We do like we do between like 700 and 800,000 per episode on Timcast IRL. And I think maybe like 600, maybe 650 is key demo. People aren't watching these networks anymore, except, check this out, this is how crazy things are. So if you could look at CNN, you've got 100,000 for Anderson Cooper. That's wild. 9 p.m. Hannity's got 300,000. Gutfeld gets 322,000. Now, I was on Waters a couple weeks ago. They don't come out and say this. When they talk about their ratings, where's Waters? 372,000. That's awesome. But take a look at their total viewership. Waters got 3.5 million. The Five got 4.064. The overwhelming majority of the viewers they have are over 55, and I think the average is 70 years old. What's going to happen to all of this stuff in 10 years?
Well, I mean, the fact that there's going to be significantly fewer boomers, like it's just a continuation of what's been happening for the past decade, right? Everything has been moving to the internet. Everything has been moving away from legacy media. So the trend is just going to continue and probably increase in velocity,
There's significantly few boomers at this table right now, by the way.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm a boomer at heart, though, so I think I count for one. I wanted to do a little inside of the lines reading here, Tim, if you go back to the full graph here. So I think what is very important for people to understand is that I think 8 p.m. is actually the key spot to have. Like, that is the most coveted TV spot to have. And that's the spot that Tucker Carlson used to fill at Fox News. And now you'd actually notice that the Five, which is at 5 o'clock, is actually getting more viewership than the coveted 8 p.m. spot. I just think it's an important thing to recognize that there's a reason we shoot at 8 p.m. and 8 p.m. is when like football games and everything would start. It's the key timing when people get home and what have you. They're getting less. Waters is getting less views more often than not than the Five is a 5.
However, Jesse Waters is like the principal personality of the Five.
Correct.
So
I think there's still something to say.
Waters is like the man at Fox News right now.
Yeah.
And it's Waters and Gutfeld basically. I guess. I don't know. Look, I mean, Hannity's getting 300,000.
In a roundabout way, Tim, I guess I'm saying that Jesse Waters doesn't fill Tucker Carlson's shoes, who had big shoes to fill when Bill O'Reilly left, too. So.
Oh, yeah. And that's crazy they got rid of Tucker Carlson. That
totally.
was absolutely nuts.
I think Tucker would still be doing monster numbers more than Jesse Waters, but it seems as though he's more interested in doing the Tucker Carlson network stuff.
I got to say, like, it is... Look, when I turn on Fox News, do you know what the advertisements are?
Pharmaceuticals for old people.
Yeah. And street EKGs. Have you seen that commercial?
No.
Is My Pillow still there too?
No, not so much. Not so much. Not that I've seen. They have this one commercial where it's a guy. He's like, I am not in a doctor's office. I'm not even a doctor. I'm in the street. And you can get a medical grade EKG by putting your fingers on this thing. How much do you think that costs? And reverse mortgages.
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong. Like, older people, elderly need services too, and there are services advertised to them. They actually have a disproportionate amount of wealth. There's a lot of hyper-concentrated wealth and power in the 65-plus demographic. Now, when we look at the average age of viewers on these networks, it's around 70 years old right now. Because, to be honest, like 7 years ago, we were talking about this. The average age was like 65. So I could arguably be like, it's probably 70 now, but I think it's 69, 70 years old. We also see with the Real Clear Politics age breakdown, the only age bracket that opposes Trump is 70 plus. All of this wealth, home ownership, corporate equities is about 10 years away from just being up in the air. The votes are gone. The properties are, where do they go? The corporate equities, where do they go? And all of these channels, nothing. I don't know. I did a quick Google search once. Actually, let me do a quick Google search now. Jesse Waters salary, and we're picking on Jesse Waters, which I'm a fan, by the way. That's why I went on a show. What do you guys think his salary is listed as?
It's gonna be a couple million a year, at least. I mean, I don't know.
He's one of their number one's APM coveted slot guy. $5 million a year.
What do you think?
I'm going 5.
This is what it says when you Google it. It says $5 million a year. Yeah. How are they gonna pay this guy $5 million a year if he's pulling in $300K per episode?
Well, especially if they lose the pharmaceutical companies.
Right.
Well,
That's why they
10
can
years.
pay him.
You're asking in 10 years, will he be able to pull in that? I mean, he can do
Perhaps.
it right now because, as you said, the disproportionate amount of wealth on the boomer market that they're appealing to.
So right now, there's also carriage fees too. But young people don't have cable. So I'm wondering, this whole thing's going belly up in 10 years. Mm-hmm. So I did a quick Google search on Hannity. His salary is estimated at $36 million. God. You know, again, I shouldn't pick on Fox News. We should look at like Anderson Cooper, right?
I think there's also, it's worth mentioning that like most of Fox News's biggest stars have ended up leaving Fox and ended up becoming independent Tim Pool type creators, if you will, podcasters. Megyn Kelly, for example, Tucker Carlson. I'm sure I'm forgetting some others, but like a lot of their best talent, most recognizable talent has left. And it really is a sign of where things are to go. But also working at Fox News must be great because you're tapped into getting tapped on the shoulder by President Trump and being brought on board in the cabinet or something.
Yeah. I'm sitting here Google searching salaries, and Anderson Cooper's salary is estimated at $20 million a year. For a guy who pulls in $100K in the key demo, I'm just wondering, look, let's not even do that. Anderson Cooper total viewership, 582,000. Okay, let's just do some math. How many commercials do you think aired during 1 hour of Anderson Cooper's show? Like, honest, how many commercials? It could be like 3 per break.
Probably one every 10 minutes.
15.
Yeah, so 15 to 20.
Mm-hmm. 15 to 20. To be fair, that could be a lot of money with 500,000 views. So if you're talking 10K, you could be doing 150,000 per episode. At 500,000 total viewers, you could be 582. You're with a standard CPM. You could be charging $10,000 per ad. I don't think it's there though. Because we tried to run that gag pillow commercial on Fox News. The idea we had was Our Pillow. Our Pillow was a burlap sack full of styrofoam packing peanuts. And I legit called Fox News and I was like, I want to run a commercial where we try and sell a burlap sack full of styrofoam packing peanuts. And they laughed and they were like, okay, it costs money. Tucker Carlson, who was getting, I think, to be honest, I think he was getting $500,000 in the key demo and about $3.5 million on average. It was $12,000 for one commercial on his show. So, I mean, that's relatively cheap compared to what you pay on the internet for podcasts and things like this. Like, I think Joe Rogan might charge between $20,000 and $50,000 per ad read on his show.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big show. You know what I mean? He's getting millions, but they're closer to the key demo. So to be fair, I mean, there is Joe. I don't understand how Anderson Cooper makes the money. Where does that money come from? That's the crazy thing.
Anderson Cooper is a descendant from the Vanderbilt family, so
Yes,
maybe he's leaving some money on the table and not too worried about. I believe he'd stay there even if they paid him $0 because he's doing it all for ego.
Yes, but he has
which isn't unique to
million.
him. Yeah,
But the NGOs have to prop those networks up. They have to. They have no choice because if they're going to get their message out at all, they have no choice but to prop them up.
What's most annoying to me is that we've had Elad on staff now for a couple of weeks and APAC hasn't called. Like, yo, what's up, Elad?
not yet.
Not yet.
I think I need to say the resident, the Jew more often here, or Jewish correspondent. Jewish affairs correspondent, rather.
There was a funny meme. It's going to just piss some people off because everyone gets mad about Israel stuff. But someone had a funny post where they said something like, I don't understand why everybody thinks Israel's paying all these people when the only thing they've ever done is beg me for money. Like all these NGOs and nonprofits, they're always asking for donations and things like that. No, I will say this too. There is, like you mentioned, the NGOs have to keep this propped up. Mm-hmm. I don't think that exists.
You don't think so?
No, it's pharmaceutical companies.
Well, they are.
Yeah, like everybody wants to believe that the only way their opposition is funded is by some nefarious ne'er-do-well billionaire, and it's just not. Certainly, there are NGOs that get money from like Soros. That exists, and they might buy commercials, but we don't actually see a lot of those commercial buys. It's pharmaceutical companies that are propping up these cable networks, and the reason why we get these messages is because they want favorable policies from Democrat politicians they're cutting these deals with. It's really simple. Pharmaceutical companies are going to make contributions when and where they can. They're going to prop up corporate news outlets. Those news outlets are scared of losing access. And the pharmaceuticals are like, listen, these Democrats are going to give us good deals. If you start running commercials that are pro-Republican, that are challenging all this stuff, we're not going to buy ads with you anymore. And the news network's like, okay, then we'll stop doing it. The editorial comes in and says, guys, we don't want to, look, a Republican, RFK Jr., for instance, why did the media attack him relentlessly? Pharmaceutical companies probably went to the big media and said, we will pull our ads if you keep disparaging us. And they said, okay, went to their team and said, guys, we got to lay off on the weird pharma stuff, okay? Let's just not risk our bottom line over whatever the story is. I have another way to put it that I love to explain to people. The reason why journalism is not news. Journalism will not tell you the truth. And anyone who thinks it will is misinformed. It's really simple. Let me ask you a question. If I want you to invest in my company. Mm-hmm. All right. I need $100,000 so that I can make a website that will, we're going to make, I don't know, articles about Brad Pitt's junk and Katy Perry, and also we hate Trump. We're going to hire 3 people. We're going to pay them, I don't know, a couple bucks an article, and we're going to get 300,000 views per video, especially the Trump ones.
Is this Shark Tank right now?
So here's what happens. The investor says, okay, my principal investment is $100,000 for 1 year. Mm-hmm. So let's just do a 3-year deal at 300,000 over 3 years. You're going to hire 3 guys. You're going to contract 3 guys to write ragebait articles. Mm-hmm. Those articles will generate a couple grand each because you're going to say Trump is bad, celebrity garbage, and we're going to load with ads. Okay. Sounds like I'll make money. Now let's talk about real journalism. Why don't you go to an investor and say this? I need $500,000 for 1 year. Salary for the journalist is going to be, we're going to be modest. We're going to say $80,000 a year. But travel costs, legal costs is going to be $300,000 for the first year because we're going to get sued to oblivion when we start digging into Pfizer's or pharmaceutical. Mm-hmm. The investor's going to say, okay, $500,000. What do I get at the end of the year? We don't know. We haven't investigated the company yet. He's going to say, screw off. I ain't investing money in that. So all of these big companies, that's how they're operating. Why would they make news? They're going to play softball so that you believe you're getting the news, but you are the product. They need more eyeballs, so they need sensational ragebait garbage at the lowest cost possible to appease their investors. To be fair, you do have another problem today with membership bases where it's largely better so long as you're adhering to some kind of standard. But then you end up with, say, Washington Post or the New York Times, where they have audience capture. Their audience hates Trump. They've invested heavily in making anti-Trump content. If they change now, they will lose members and they will shrink. So what do? They maintain those lies. You are not getting fair and honest reporting from news organizations. It just doesn't exist.
I think, especially in the news media space, journalism sadly cannot be monetized to the amount that it takes to pay the journalist to make a living. And the downstream consequences of that is that journalism and news outfits usually cannot be profitable and therefore tend to be bought out by billionaires or owned by billionaires. So for the New York Times, it's owned by the Salzberger family. So the thing is, they're not really adhering or have to feel the pressure from their subscribers if it came down to that, because they're a very rich family. Same for the Washington Post, currently owned by Jeff Bezos. If push comes to shove, they actually don't need to be profitable. And it's just rich people and rich companies that own a lot of these different news outlets. And
the motivation then is going to be just for access or the ability to affect the narrative then, right? The overall zeitgeist of America.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.